You're talking. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, that's good enough. Oh, it's nice to be back in person. Okay, so our agenda today, let me go through the usual spiel. This is meeting number 332 of the MAC Group, Dayton, and it's 2024, so if you're still writing checks, remember to change that date. And it's February, and I'm going to say we don't have any new members. Do we have any guests here today? Going once, going twice, no guest. Is he a guest?
Yes.
Is he willing or unwilling?
He's already done it before.
He's willing?
Yeah, he's already introduced.
He's been domesticated, he follows directions. Okay. Introduce yourself to the group. Tell us what kind of computer you use and what you use it for. And if there's something you want to know how to use a computer for, but you don't know how to use it, don't know how to do it, that too. All yours.
Yeah, Dwight Stevens. I guess we got a Windows computer, Dell, and it's mostly like word processing and
Okay.
spreadsheet and internet.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess that's about it.
Is there anything that you'd like to use a computer for, but you really don't know how to do it?
No, not really. Although, you see a lot of people that make these YouTube clips and things, and I wouldn't know where to start and stuff like that. It looks like it might be kind of interesting, but then again, I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah, I've been tempted too. Now, we do have at least one person in the room that knows how to upload video to YouTube, and that is Mark Georges, who's our Apple ambassador. And we've been putting them up on YouTube for how many years now?
God,
5?
at least, yeah.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years.
We're not making any money, though.
Well, but we also don't get any strikes for content. Okay, so we're ahead of the game. All right, thank you very much. People will say hi at the break. If they want to borrow money, just say no. Okay, with that said, now, news items. News items. Let me see if I got my present reports here. Yeah, there we go. President's notes. So, Apple dropped a whole series of what I call applesauce. That's the operating systems for various Apple devices. And the latest ones that come out are for Macintosh, Mac OS 14.3.1. And again, I'll just repeat as I always do. If you want to know what Mac version of the operating system your desktop or laptop is running, you go to the upper left-hand corner, click on the Apple, and select About This Macintosh. And it'll tell you what version of the operating system it's running. For iOS and iPad OS, 17.3.1, and for Watch OS, Apple Watch, 10.3.1. Was there an update for HomePods? How about for AirPods?
There was about 2 weeks ago, but
About
they
2 weeks?
they automatically updated.
Okay, but that's the firmware stuff, right? Okay. Okay. These have security updates in them. So with the phone and the iPad, this doesn't have that new security feature that's going to be released probably latter part of this month, beginning of next month. Do we know when 14 is coming out?
0.4,
Yeah,
I heard in the next 3 weeks.
next 3 weeks.
Sometime in the next three weeks approximately.
Okay. And then once it's out and we know that it's all that it should be, we're probably going to have a presentation about, no?
The security thing's already out. It's released.
Oh, it is?
It was in 0.3, the version before this.
Okay,
0.4 is all the European stuff for the EU for their new
incredibly highly priced European, Eurozone Apple Store?
Well, people can set up their own app stores, they call them a
Yeah.
different name, they don't call them app stores, but
Okay,
that comes out in .4, that's in beta right now, that'll be in the next 3-4 weeks.
okay. Thank you for the correction. On the artificial intelligence front, the folks at Google renamed, Google Alphabet, they got two names. Their Gemini AI, the one where their demonstration was pre-recorded and was sort of fake, well, they decided that tainted the name of that AI product, so they've changed the name to Bard.
It's actually backwards.
Did I get backward?
Yeah.
It's
I
Bard,
just
now
wrote
it's
it, yeah.
Gemini?
But yeah, this is their own thing. It says Bard is now known as Gemini. And the Pro version, which is the equivalent of GPT Pro, is called Gemini Advanced. You can
Okay,
do it for a free trial for 2 months. It's $20 a month, just like it. But yeah, it's the other way around. They adopted the name of the model for the product, and the pay version is
Okay.
called Gemini Advanced.
so Bard is now Gemini.
Yeah. And they simultaneously released that highest end model to people to try. And just
Okay.
anecdotally, I subscribed to both Pro versions, and it is roughly equivalent to GPT-4, which Bard wasn't.
Okay,
It's roughly equivalent.
okay,
And is it like $10 a month or?
It's $20 a month, but you can get 2 months of free trial, no obligation. So if you want to try it, you can sign up and cancel anytime. And that's what I did, and I fully plan on canceling.
okay. Now, when you go to cancel, is it an Odyssey or is it just?
No, it's not a big deal. In this particular case, what it is with they have a thing called Google One that lets you get like more storage for Google
Yeah,
Docs and some other
yeah.
stuff. It's just on Google One now, but they
Okay.
upped the price of Google One.
Okay,
So it's as easy to, it's basically just unclick. I already unsubscribed. I
okay.
paid the $20 and I'm
Okay,
now riding
and
the
it
2
was-
months.
And it was in and
Boom,
straight
and I'm
up.
just riding the 2 months, yeah.
The reason why I made the comment about Odyssey, if you remember your Greek epic stories, I'm sure you're all up to date on that. You'll remember the Odyssey was where this wonderful Greek leader goes on this long trip on his boat, and he's the only one that makes it back alive, okay? So when you're on a cruise and they say it's a true Odyssey, you might consider changing your booking. Okay, and the reason why I made that comment about Odyssey is that a small company, retail company called Amazon got sued by the Federal Trade Commission because they said they had made it so difficult to cancel Amazon Prime that it was in effect an Odyssey. And then they had emails internal to where they were using that term. So, okay, so just be aware, sometimes free trials, they're free, but they're incredibly difficult to cancel. Microsoft Edge, which is a web browser for Microsoft, and it's available on PCs, it's available on mobile devices like iPads, on phones, et cetera, now has an AI component to it called Copilot. Me being an old curmudgeon, I find it incredibly annoying when I put in something that I want to search, and then Copilot pops up and tells me all about something that was not what I was searching for. But again, remember, I'm not a normal person, and the stuff I search for is not the stuff normal people would be searching for. Okay, so, and they're working on it. And then Apple, there's a lot of stuff that Apple's doing. I didn't realize just how extensive it is. They bought about 25 different companies, spending about $2.5 billion. I want to say $2.5 billion.
Around here.
You know, these stock, these buyouts.
If you would have told me in '97.
Yeah, sometimes they make it sound larger than it is.
Random.
Anyway, so they bought these companies and they're hard at work. They hired the former head of Google Search, and he's now heading up the Apple AI efforts. Shoot, what's the name again?
Gina,
Yeah,
he's been there a couple of years
Andrea.
now, but he's.
Yeah. Anyway, And he's the guy that left Google because he felt that they should be incorporating more AI in search, but they were going too slow and all the other stuff, so, you know, he's primed for it. And Mr. Cook, who's the chief executive officer of Apple, has said in not public meetings that they are moving forward with AI aggressively. He used the phrase insanely great, which is something that Steve Jobs used to use. And it's going to be coming full implementation of AI in the Apple ecosphere will be coming 2025 in iOS 18 and macOS 16.
Probably the most interesting thing was, Apple never does this, but in the quarterly earnings report a few days ago,
Yeah.
he said publicly, he said, later this year, we will update you on what we're doing.
Yeah.
He said it just that plainly, I mean.
And
Question
there
is,
are
is that
some things that they've
teaser
done
or-
that are already out there where
Yeah, kind of teaser.
you can do, put in text and it'll create graphic art. So
I'd be
anyway, I
shocked if
haven't
they-
tried any of that
We'll
yet.
find out in June.
Exactly.
Okay.
WWDC.
Is there anybody else that has something they think would be of interest to the members in terms of Apple news?
Did we ever talk about Apple's new ski goggles?
Yeah, Vision Pros.
Vision Pro?
Oh, you're talking about Sea Hunt,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lloyd Bridges? Apple released, and you can buy them now, they're Apple Vision Pros. I have not had a demo yet. I know of 2 people who have had demos. Have you had a demo?
Yes.
You have? Okay,
Fine.
hold that thought, I'll be right with you. The people that I asked about this, I said, what was it like? They said, you can't describe it with words. And I said, okay, well, you know, you're not gonna help me much here, because, you know, that's
That's how
why
we
I'm working
communicate.
with words. They said, go ahead, get yourself scheduled in for a demo. I said, okay. Both of them do wear glasses, and it's for far vision, and they were able to use the Apple Vision Pro without having glasses on. Okay. Now, you have had a demo?
Yes, I went in to upgrade my phone and they had a cancellation and asked me if I would like to do it. And of course I said yes.
Yes.
Each one is a half an hour. And the first thing they do is measure the size of your head with a series of dots. It takes a few minutes to acclimate yourself because everything is reliant on your eyes.
Okay.
Whatever you focus on, and then click your thumb and your first finger. I tried using a third finger, it won't work. Apple only recognizes the first finger and your
Okay.
thumb. So you also don't have to wave your arms around like you do on the TV, you know, when you're doing military stuff. You can actually sit there in your lap and you simply focus. And so the first thing you have to focus on is a series of dots in a circle. And each one is a tiny dot, and then it fills the hole. And then at the end of that, twice around, they have the dimensions for your goggles. Then they bring it out in a tray that seems like you're going to have caviar, and then it fits. At one point, I did not have it completely up on the bridge, and the way I described it to them was that two of my little circles were like things in the sky that were, you know, comets. And the minute I pulled up the bridge, everything went in focus. And from that time on, they follow a script. And Tyler taught me how to focus on one thing, whether it's photos, like you focus on photos, and you click the 2 fingers together, just sitting in your lap, very relaxed, and photos will open. You focus on one picture, you can click, open it, and you can move it to the right. So at one point, I had 3 things open. I had like a Google search, I had photos, and I had a platform in order to build a file, or, you know, a document. He brought up a landscape for me. All you have to do is separate your fingers a little, and the picture expands. I looked to my right and to my left, and the image filled in probably 360 if I had turned all the way around. So I am on the beach and I am looking at the water. When I turn to the right, I see the cliff and an overhanging tree. Okay, so after we did that, and he showed me how easy it would be to prepare a document or to go from one to the other. Again, all you have to do is focus on whatever you want. The minute you put your eyes on that and click the two fingers together, it will open or close. You don't, doesn't have to be dramatic, it doesn't have to be waving, just very casual. Sometimes I pushed too hard and it didn't open. You just have to be very relaxed about it, and it was a tremendous experience. At that point, he showed me 3D.
Okay.
And I was sitting at a picnic with people, with a kid doing a ball, the wife holding up, you know, my meal, that kind of thing. So to me, it was the next step in an extraordinary experience. If I had the money, one man came in and bought 3, and they have a limit to 2, so he called his mother to come in so that he could buy 3 at a time at the price of $3,500 a piece. So he spent, you know, probably close to $12,000 in that morning.
Yeah.
So I think Rick mentioned at one point that the goggles are a little heavy and that he hoped in time that
Did
it
you
would
find
be
them
less.
to be heavy?
I didn't find that they were heavy, but I mean, I felt that they were not restrictive. They don't, it's not difficult to keep them balanced, but I agree with them. In time, I'm sure that they will be smaller. And, but the only thing I worry about is that if you live alone, I really think that in one day, my expectation would be that they would take the place of your television. Because, you know, you would just stream whatever you wanted and make it as big or as 3D as you would like. But if you all wanted to watch the Super Bowl together, I'm not quite sure how you would do that. You know, unless you all had them and you synchronized how you turned them on. Maybe Rick knows how that would happen, but I was absolutely blown away. And it is difficult to tell you. All I can tell you is you have an expansive picture in absolute detail that can get bigger or smaller, that can be moved anywhere in the sky. And you can also have it 3D. And I just, if I had the $3,500, I would have bought 2, one for Dan and I. So,
You had to buy 2.
yeah, you do, yeah. Have you bought 2?
You would have had to. The guest mode isn't that great. You need,
Yeah.
You need to have 2. I mean,
Need
they're
to
not-
have 2,
The guest mode is just not really great.
okay.
Or a hot,
Say, George?
either a hot tub.
Is there a camera that tracks the finger motion, or is it?
There must be, Rick would know that, I just know
It's
that,
got an array of them.
There's a lot of cameras.
yeah.
It's looking at your hands.
It's looking at the world, it's doing all kinds of stuff.
What's amazing to me is that it makes a distinction between your fingers.
Yeah.
You know, I just,
It's all pixels.
All the computational
Yes,
equipment is in the.
it's an M2.
It's a computer.
It's an M2.
It's-
It's
yeah, it's a
specifically a
computer
straight
right in there.
M2, a full
There's a
core.
brick that comes with it too, right? That-
A battery. Yeah, charge.
It's an M2, and then there's a custom coprocessor called the R1 for reality.
Yeah.
I think it's R1.
That deals with all the.
And that does all of the device-specific stuff, but its main brain is just like an Air, just like a straight up M2.
so yeah, there's very few things on the goggles themselves. I think there's
Which is great.
one little
Yeah, they took the-
push button up here and one down to the side, and,
Got a digital
Got a
crown.
crown.
Digital
Yeah.
crown, just like the watch.
Whoa,
yeah.
whoa.
Digital crown.
It's simply amazing. I would suggest that all you go in and see the preview. And I didn't have an appointment, like I said, I just happened to be there and they had
I'm
a
not
time
gonna go in
slot.
and get the demo because I will have
Yeah, you
problems.
don't want
I
to,
know.
I do not want to.
It's like
do not
keeping
wanna
treats
get
in the
that-
house,
I don't want
yeah.
to get hooked on it.
don't bring the
I
Oreos
know
into the house.
2 industrial applications that they're being used for right now. The first one is, there's a company called Boston Dynamics, and they make these robots. One of which is the Robo Dog, And typically where they're used mainly is in industrial plants where you have to be measuring temperature, or you're looking for, think of like a refinery, where you've got to measure if there's CO levels and oxygen levels, nitrogen levels. You want to make sure you don't have a leak somewhere. And you have to be able to read gauges and in some cases flip levers. So these robo-dogs do come not just with the camera stuff, but also with arms, so they can open doors, walk stairs and that. So I do know that they're being used with Boston Dynamic robots in place of the joystick TV screen controllers that were being used. Because these robo-dogs are not autonomous, you have to drive them, if you will. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is, has to do with drone technology. So instead of sitting with the monitor in front of you and you've got the joystick and you're flying it, you're flying the drone in a much more intuitive way. I'm not a pilot, you're a pilot. You get synced to the plane, right? You know, basically you're moving controls, but you don't consciously think about it, right? When you're flying a plane?
I just, okay, I want to turn left, I turn left, yeah.
Okay.
Well, the F-16, the way they fly with that stick is almost like that. You know, you just think about what you want to do. You
Yeah.
don't have to move the stick very far.
Yeah. So that's another thing that's being used. And again, that ability to do the look without having to move your head much and be able to see is something that's interesting. But my understanding, the drone project is just, they're just, you know, it's a prototype. They're not actually putting it in the field yet. Yes, George?
You have real-world vision as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and see, the one thing you can do is you can, when you turn the knob, you can make it 100% on the picture, whatever is in your goggle computer, or you could do halfway and keep the reality of Tyler sitting next to me. It's always in focus, but in other words, I can see Tyler here, or if I want to turn him off completely, I turn the knob even more, and then my picture from the goggles completely is my view.
In the introduction video that they did, I don't know if this is a real-world feature or not, because I have trouble believing anything I see anymore, unless I experience it myself. They had a situation where someone's fully engrossed and they're waving their hands, they're snapping their fingers, et cetera, et cetera. Someone walks in the room, the Apple Vision becomes aware of the person, lets you know there's another person in the room, and then your eyes appear in the goggles to let them know that, yeah, you know they're there.
Yeah.
But again,
People
I
can't
don't
see-
know how it really works.
That has been reviewed very poorly and universally panned because the glasses are so glossy
Yeah,
that the luminance, the nits of that display is so low, they don't penetrate the gloss, and no one, it's universal, every review says you can't see their eyes,
okay.
and that it doesn't work the way you think. And another thing is that pass-through doesn't detect pets, so people have said that they have it on and their dog's down there and they can't see their dog.
Yeah. That's not good. Or cat.
Yeah, or cat.
Which is worse.
Or cat, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, okay.
Give cats their due.
Also a news release that you shouldn't drive with it.
Yeah,
Oh, I
someone
would
was
think-
driving.
And that's the first thing you saw people doing.
Somebody flew a plane with them on.
I've seen,
What's a pilot with
you know, the short, social media shorts where people are walking down the streets of Manhattan with these on, and I'm going like, hey, you better have your life insurance paid up, buddy, because if you don't have, you know,
You don't have the
environmental
peripheral
awareness in New York,
But
you ain't gonna be
again, you
around
can't
long.
have that awareness if you don't turn it all the way on and make that your only primary picture. If you turn it halfway on, you're going to see both. I could see Tyler as I'm having a picnic.
So,
It's a 12-second latency, which, excuse me, 12 millisecond, which is pretty good, but it's
Okay.
still got a little latent, but it also only has a 100-degree FOV, like you were saying. So unlike the real world, when you're driving and you can see out here,
Yeah.
you can see here perfectly. It's also what's called foveated rendering, which means that it's not powerful enough to render things you don't see.
Yeah.
So it's actually using your tracking to have a higher quality resolution while you're looking and lower.
Yeah.
That's called foveated. And if you turn your head real fast, you can trick it and then you can see the lower res image.
Okay.
So for driving, for living at home, you're never going to detect these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to drive a car,
Yeah.
your head's whipping around, it's very different.
The picture
And
this
there's at
bill,
least 3 states where they're already want to modify their
Yeah.
motor regs where it, you're not allowed to
Can't believe we're
wear,
even having this
this
discussion,
kind
but
of
really
stuff.
not.
even if you're in a Tesla self-driving car.
the bill, the
Yeah.
thing that blew my mind, a pixel in those displays is the size of a red blood cell.
Jeez.
A single pixel.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Yes,
But in spite of all the oohs and ahs about this technology, one of the concerns I have is it seems like the path we're on, all these technological advances as they come along, tend to isolate people more from each other instead of bringing people together. And so that's my concern. Does it help people relate to other people? Does it help bring people together? Or does it help isolate people from one another and propagate these conspiracy theories and, social networking downsides and all that kind of stuff? The earpod type things do it a little bit too. When people listen to music, they become isolated from their entire environment. The Vision Pro has the potential to go way beyond that, but down the same path. And I'm not sure that's a good thing.
yeah. When Cox Ohio Media put up the banners inside, this is when the newspaper had a whole building instead of working out of offices on a strip mall. Our employees are our greatest asset. Okay, I noticed that 2 weeks after that, people were walking around here, iPods, earbuds, going from place to place, just focused, not on work, so.
What does a Vision Pro use for audio?
It's little speakers that are by your ear that
Okay.
direct down into your ear so that for you, they sound pretty decent and they're just happening, but people near you can hear it. It's similar to like those jawbone type things, so
Yeah.
people can hear it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just throw one more thing in the mix, and that is Mr. Musk, Elon Musk, and his neuro implants. They have implanted, it would be called personal computing, meaning it's actually embedded in you. It's about, as personal as you can get. And so the clinical trials in that are now going, and they're up to 5 people that are working with those neuro inputs. In which case it would be no goggles, nothing, it's like, sunglasses and a reflective thing, and it's doing it. So, yeah, it'll be interesting and scary and all of that stuff.
But it's always been the case that there's pros and cons, there's advantages and disadvantages, and you have to try and weigh those.
And there's good uses for technology, and there's crazy ass, no, we really shouldn't do this, but we'll try it first technologies. Like, putting a nuclear reactor in a Air Force bomber with turbines and jets, fixed wing, great idea, you don't have to fill it up much with air fuel,
Just don't
but
crash.
it really wasn't a good idea from crew safety, because the radiation, or
Detail.
atomic
Details
powered
we do.
trains. Okay, that was another one that, they tried it, and George is looking, yeah, George, they had atomic powered trains out in Idaho, they were running them at the proving grounds, and they discovered that if you had a wreck, not good. Oh, and Lenore, thank you. You were able to describe stuff that the 2 guys that I talked to just went, oh, just wonderful, but I can't explain, Okay. All right, next one would be Home Kit Minute.
Okay. already there, it's, just change it.
Quick switch. Down.
All right.
You're good.
So, a couple of months ago, I talked about this product, but now I've actually implemented it, so I'll relay a few stories. It's the Habitat, and their new model is their C8. And while it's not a HomeKit product, and you say, Dan, why are you talking about a non-HomeKit product during the HomeKit minute? Well, it's because it's an open device, and it's not quite the fenced-in realm of Apple that you're probably aware of, but it allows for people to sort of write their own applications and software for this device. So, an entrepreneur has created an app for this device that connects it to your HomeKit setup and allows you, as you can see by the screen, this is compatible with Matter, with Zigbee and Z-Wave. And those are other environments of other devices that are not directly compatible with HomeKit. So it gives you access to literally thousands of other smart devices that you can implement, and that's why I'm using it. We moved into a new house, and the existing smart lock on the front door uses Z-Wave. It was a Schlage product, well-known manufacturer, and they just chose that product when they decided to develop it, but it's not directly compatible. So I've added this device. It now syncs with the lock, and I can control that lock through HomeKit. And it works very fast. All the processing is done on this little box, and you don't have to worry about it going to a cloud or any security issue. But the one drawback is that this is the interface. This is what it looks like. When you first set up the box, it creates a small website that you have access to. It gives you the IP address, and you just sort of put that IP address into your web browser, and it brings up this interface. As you can see, it's not really as glossy as a HomeKit device, but once again, you've got the menu on the left side, and you can see that it gives you all these different settings and things that you can go to. And in this case, I have one room that's my front entry, and it shows that the front door is there, and it tells me, battery level that's there. It tells me whether it's locked or unlocked. And I also added another app that allows me to control the code, because there's a keypad on the lock. It allows me to directly change the code, delete it, add another one, create groups of codes, just like you would if you were programming it directly on the lock. So that's another app that's not directly associated with Schlage, but once again, another entrepreneur came up with this app that adds more functionality. So it's very, very, very flexible. And while the interface is not really friendly to the novice, it's certainly very powerful. So if you're interested in knowing more, I can tell you more, but any questions? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Now, remember, if Rick wants to borrow money, just say no. Wait. Directly on the diagonal behind you, we have another George that did have his hand up first.
Okay, that's no problem.
Okay.
Need a little refresher on Dropbox. I've got a number of files on Dropbox that show up, and I want to do some house cleaning. Is Dropbox an iCloud setup, or is that?
Dropbox is a separate company from Apple. They are a cloud storage company, so everything on Dropbox is basically Dropbox. They do have apps that you can have on your Mac OS devices and your mobile devices, like iPhones and Android phones and iPads and other people's pads, that'll let you connect to Dropbox. But Dropbox is its own separate thing.
So it's just an intermediary to get stuff from the outside world to my computer, and if I place that in folders, I can safely delete all those, and I won't be losing the data that's in my computer.
Yeah, I find I get the best result if I'm using a web browser to connect to Dropbox. And so I've got a web interface, and I can say, click on a file and say download, and it's going to download to the computer that I'm web browsing from. And then I can move that file that's up there on Dropbox into the trash.
Is there an easy way to find out if that file is indeed in the computer as well as in Dropbox, or do I have to go file by file?
If you have the Dropbox app, you can have it where it synchronizes. So everything that's on Dropbox is also in a Dropbox folder in your user folder.
If I don't have that,
If you don't have that, that means you never set it up to do synchronization.
so I've just got to go individually file by file to make sure I'm not losing.
Correct, correct. The little filler that I'm going to add, when I do that, I typically will download the files and put them on a flash drive. Okay, and the reason why I do that is I had the mistake where I was just bringing them onto my desktop on my Mac and Mac OS machine, forgetting that my desktop and my documents folder were iCloud folders. So what I was actually doing was bringing it in to what I thought was my local machine, but I was actually taking it from Dropbox and putting a copy on iCloud, which is not what I wanted to do, okay? So I've found that because I'm a frail, weak, flawed human being, that the process that works best for me is to take a flash drive, plug it in, and then have them putting the files onto the flash drive. Because iCloud Drive ignores flash drives. They treat it as something that they don't try and synchronize. Okay, so just, it's not you, it's me. You know, if there's a way to screw up, I'll find it. Okay, George, it's now your turn.
Well, I'd like to publicly acknowledge that Mark George has helped me with a problem during the week. It was with Messenger and Facebook, and there was some sort of scam file.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had 2 instances of that, and, but he helped me. He helped me with that, so I'm good.
So some of the other stuff that happened, let's see. So myself and other people that we've helped since the last meeting would be John Halpin, Susan Newell, Harris Bartine, and I know there's a bunch of others that have been helped. You've been helped, oh, Ray Ratchford?
Yeah.
Was it Bill or?
Ray.
Both. Okay. Oh, they double teamed you. Did they take turns slapping and then come in?
It was like angels coming in.
Oh. So we don't
Never been
always
called
tell
that
you about
before.
that stuff going on, but it is
It
occurring.
felt pretty good, yeah.
Now,
Well, not that
I'm
we-
going to, if there's nobody else with a help desk, nobody else? Okay. I'm going to put a question out on the table. This was a question from one of our members. They wanted to know what I thought about password managers. And I don't really think I'm qualified to talk about it because I do my passwords using Apple Keychain and a thing I call the estate book, where it's a 3-ring binder with physical paper, and it's got written down websites and passwords and logins for my executor if anything happens to me, or my spouse if anything happens to me. But that's how I do it. I've got the digital with Keychain from Apple. It's built into Mac OS, and it propagates through the mobile devices, the iPhone and the iPad, and a physical device. So opening it up to the membership, what do you think about password managers and just leaving it open? Okay, Bill.
I find Keychain very easy to use. You can go into Keychain or into passwords in your system settings, and you can click on one you want to change, and it'll take you right to the website. You go in and change your passwords, and then it'll copy that change.
Yeah. Do you ever use it as an oopsie, you don't remember what the password is?
Well, I've got it set up with Safari that it remembers it also hooked up with Keychain.
Okay.
And, you know, I just type in my laptop password and it fills it in for me. So.
Okay.
But Keychain is, you know, very good. It comes up. I'm leaning more toward their strong password choices instead of trying to make them up, because Keychain does remember all that.
Mhm.
And you can actually go into passwords and print out the whole thing, all your passwords.
You can do the same thing in Chrome. A lot of people don't realize all the major browsers, Chrome, Edge, Safari, all have some kind of password management. And you can use Chrome to be cross-platform. And a lot of people don't realize how, like you were saying, printing them out. I don't print them out, but like you can, I now always say suggest strong password for everything, just whatever. And then if I need to move it between platforms, I need to know it, you can always just go into the settings of any of the 3 major browsers, go down and click on the eyeball, and there it is. And some even have a copy button. Just copy and paste it between platforms, because I'm bouncing between platforms as part of my workflow. But yeah, so you can get it that way too. So on the Apple, I trust Keychain.
What do you consider to be the 3 major browsers?
As far as that, really, if you asked me that question and I stopped and thought, I would say Firefox, Chrome, /Edge, because Chrome and Edge are based on the same guts, and then Safari, of course.
Okay.
Chrome being the one that's obviously the best for bridging things. So I use Edge a lot because of it has all this Microsoft stuff I do at work.
Yeah.
And then I can go home and bounce it.
Yeah.
But Chrome is really the great universal connector, and it's also got 70% market share, so obviously that's a good one. But the main message I want to give to the group is all of these things have a setting you can go to, you can drill down, and you can search. So like, for example, I have multiple Reddit accounts or whatever, and sometimes I'll use one of my older Reddit accounts as like a novelty account or something like that. And I don't know what this system-generated password is, but I want to use it on a different platform or reset it or something like that. You just go into the settings and you can search them. You search Reddit and it's like, here's your 3 or 4 Reddit accounts. You click the eyeball and it's this long gobbledygook password that nobody knows, but that's the safest.
Yeah.
So that's what I do
And
these
some web
days.
browsers will even tell you when you used it last
Yes.
and when you changed it last.
Yeah.
So,
But don't you worry that you don't really know any of your passwords?
Well, it would be if it was life and death. So for example, like for my works authentication, there is a long 256 character hash that's like, if you lose this, you can never recover it. So take this hash and put it somewhere. But for 99.9% of the sites, if you forget your password, you go, I forgot my password. It emails it to you, Bob's your uncle. So I never worry about it, because when can I not get into Chrome? But I will say that my root password does not change. And that is, there has to be at least one password that you really do know. You know, and for me, that's my main couple. You know, my Apple password is a huge long thing I haven't changed in a long time, which maybe is not safe, but I reuse it nowhere. It's just Apple.
so for me, the way I triage it, you've got financials, so that would be bank accounts, Social Security, Treasury Department, stock brokerages, okay? Those are the ones that are in the estate book, they're on paper, and it's in a fire safe, okay? Then there's the next level, that would be stores, Kohl's, Duluth, Harbor Freight, et cetera, et cetera. Those are on the Apple keychain, okay? And then you've got what I call the throwaways, you know, it's a news site. You're not paying a subscription fee, you're just, you have to log in with something, okay? And those, again, I just have them in keychain.
I
And
don't think I always know which browser is saving them. I mean,
Are you using multiple browsers?
I always start with Safari, but it takes me
Okay.
to Google, so I never know where they're going to be.
Homework assignment.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. When you're home, fire up Safari and go to Preferences.
Yeah.
And go to Passwords, and just look to see what Safari has there.
Okay.
Because it isn't really Safari that has those passwords, it's actually Keychain that has them. The
And how do I
Safari,
get to the Google ones?
fire up Google Chrome, okay? Go over to the right side where you got the three dots, the three bars. Click on that, get into, I think they call it Settings. It's Settings or Preferences. And again, you're going to be clicking, when the thing comes up, you've got a sidebar, and one of the things is going to be Security Passwords. You click there, and you can get to what passwords it has stored.
Okay, thank you.
Firefox, same deal. Brave, same deal. Vivaldi, same deal. Microsoft Edge, same deal. Okay. Yes, Mr. Cooper.
I use a method similar to yours, but I also use 1Password. And I've used 1Password for years. I use Keychain, but my
Okay.
my go-to.
Let me just stop for a second. Raise your hands. How many of you use 1Password? Okay. Okay.
Version 7, that was the last version that was not.
Okay. And I cut you off, didn't mean to stop you, but I wanted to hear, why do you have 1Password?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I got it many years ago, and I stuck with
Okay.
it through some revisions and things. There are some aspects of its current version that is kind of a nuisance to me, but I live with it, and I'm comfortable with it, so
Okay.
I tend to go
Those are all good
with
reasons.
it
I'm
first as my primary.
Okay. And Chuck?
I had an account with my wife's computer,
Yeah.
my account, her account. I hadn't used it for a while. I wanted to get back into it. I don't remember the password.
Okay.
So I do have a password I keep using all the time. And it's not the old one on my wife's computer.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I do when I set up machines, okay, if it's a machine that I'm going to have responsibility for, but I'm not necessarily the user, I will create an account for myself with my password in it. So that if somebody brings it to me and they say, I can't get it to update, blah, 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 I can log into the computer with that user account. And it's an administrator account, which means if they don't remember their passwords, I can reset their passwords on that local machine. I can't get into their keychain, that's separate.
I told myself I'll never forget that password.
Yeah, I've told myself that many times. And this is why I have stuff on paper, and other people know it's there. They know the process to get to it. Because as we get older, the memory doesn't get better. The kind of memory we have is different. Let me go to Dan for a minute. You wanted to add something? Dan?
Just a question, you said, someone said you could copy off, print out your passwords through Safari that you have on your
In
keychain.
Safari, you have to do it onesies and twosies. You can't just say print out every password and user, a login account that's not saved in Keychain. On Google Chrome and on Firefox, I can say, hey, create a text file that's got the website, the username, and the password for everything you got.
Okay, by one, did you mean what, for?
It would mean that if I wanted to know the passwords on a Mac running Safari, I would have to go into Safari Preferences and put in a search for what I'm looking for, and then bring that one up and then tell it, show me the password, because usually it just shows you the black dots, okay? And then I would have to copy and paste and put it myself into a text file. Okay, so they deliberately have done that so that it's not easy to just in one fell swoop grab all their passwords. Yes, sir?
Well,
Could you go into system settings and go to passwords?
Okay, I'm running High Sierra.
Okay,
Okay, so you want me to go
okay, well,
into
I'm running.
system
Sonoma.
preferences?
System, okay. System, I don't know if it's gonna be the same though.
Yeah.
Yeah, passwords?
You're not gonna find it in High Sierra.
Okay, anyways, if you're running Sonoma, in system settings, you go to passwords, you log in.
Yeah.
In the top right corner, there's a search, or the top of the window is the search window. And to the right, there's a little box that says plus or minus, whatever, but there's a little doohickey to the right of that. And you can click on that and you can either import or export all passwords.
You can do the same thing on an Apple phone or an Apple Pad. You go into settings and you scroll down. You got to be on iOS 15 and above, if I remember correctly, and you got a thing called passwords. And in this case, it wants me to do my touch. And not only will you have a list of passwords, you know, what's saved, it's alphabetized, which is also nice. And it also will let you know if there are known security breaches of websites where your passwords would have been stored. And it'll tell you whether you should change them or not. So,
It'll do that on Sonoma also.
yeah.
Recommended password options, security recommendations, there's 250, but on my particular computer, but they're passwords that I don't care about.
So,
Well, one of the good things about iOS and iPad OS is your facial recognition or your thumbprint can substitute for remembering all your passwords.
yes.
You
And
can log into
those-
that. I wish I had
those-
that on my desktop.
Those terms, facial recognition, touch, those are called biometrics. So it's using some physical characteristic of your body to authenticate.
If you buy a newer
Yeah, I got it.
keyboard,
Right. I got
it'll
it.
have a thumb.
They'll have the touch button. Okay, so, you know,
I only works in certain
Um,
cases, though, not everything.
I don't want to take this too far, but one of the scams going on right now is you're at a checkout, okay, and you're going to authenticate something using your phone, Android, Apple, whatever. And there'll be people that basically hover around. They'll come in like they're going to check out. Usually it's over by the, where you're checking yourself out, okay? And they'll hover and they'll come around and they'll like fumble because they want to be close enough where they can do the snap, get a picture, live picture of you touching your code, okay? So there's things going on, and Apple is cognizant of those, and they're doing their very best to implement new procedures to make your devices more secure, truly personal, safe, secure, etc. Okay, we'll go to Dan, and then one other person, then we'll move on.
Continuation of what we were talking about before with,
Yep.
with keychain. Is there a way, and I think there is, but I just don't know what it is, to transfer from Safari or keychain to Chrome or Firefox or?
Yes. I'll just say yes, there is. You have to use a third-party device app to do it. Okay. Bookmarks, not a problem. You can just import them and export them from the different web browsers. Passwords on Apple web browsers, Apple devices, they treat them with the respect that they're due. Google, Firefox, etc., you can export a pass list and be able to import it. You have to go into terminal code to do it, but you can do it. Okay, yes, Michael,
Well, there's two reasons.
you're the last one.
Okay, I'm less.
You're gonna,
There's two reasons why I still use 1Password.
Okay.
One is that it syncs across all my mobile devices, and I've got it set up so that so I'm at work, I even add stuff from a PC instead of a Mac. I can add it to, say, my iPad. I can then sync it back to my central server or my phone, and do it that way. And then the other reason is it also stores software keys and any other, anything else I want, that's non-browser related that I want to keep and protect, so.
But that, where you talked about all his devices, that's something that Safari and Keychain won't do, in that if you've got an Android phone, you're not going to be able to use Keychain to bring up a password. If you've got 1Password, you can have 1Password on that Android phone, and when you go to the website on your phone, it automatically puts in the username and the password when you tell it to it. So that's a big feature. If you're doing Linux machines, you're doing Microsoft Windows machines, you're doing Apple machines, you're doing Google Chrome machine, Chrome, Amazon devices, 1Password has them all covered. That's its strength, it's also its weakness.
Hey, Bill,
Yeah.
like Dan said, I'm using version 7 also.
Mhm.
You go to version 8, that's a subscription, is it not? And it goes back to their servers.
Yeah.
Whereas on 7, you can just save it to your local computer,
Yeah.
sync it between your own
Yeah.
devices. It doesn't go out
I
into the
think you can
net.
still download 7.
Yeah.
You have to dig for it, though.
Yeah. The reason why where your passwords are stored is a big deal, is the number one way that passwords get defeated isn't your local devices, your personal devices, your iPhone. It's you have an account with Target or Dillard's or Kohl's or Exxon, some company, and their servers got hacked. Or to be more precisely, they let go the wrong people. And those people take the stuff with them. And that was the source of the big major breaches on AOL and Yahoo. So when they got bought by that hedge fund, they let a bunch of people go, and those people went out the door with password files of millions of people. Yes, Rick?
There are,
See, I lied.
there are a number of password managers on the App Store that work really well. Most of them are subscription-based these days. There are a few that sell it every time there's an update, but I use Secrets, which is, I used to use 1Password. I switched to Secrets for the same reason, because there's no subscription. And I can manage my database on my side. And so you just have to be careful what you're looking for when you're buying one. I mean, you want to look at what the extra features it has. For example, 1Password, Secrets, a lot of these, they tell you when there's been breaches, what passwords are at risk. They tell you which ones of your passwords are weak, any passwords that are duplicates. They tell you all this stuff so that you can be a little more smart about how you create passwords. But I don't remember, I've got probably 1,000 passwords in there. I don't remember any of them. I never have to remember them. All I have to do is hold up to my face, push the password into Safari or wherever I'm using it, or apps, and it's just done. And I just like that simplicity of life. So, but password managers are great. I talked to this person you're talking about, and I think you just have to decide if you want to use one. Keychain's great, it just doesn't work everywhere, so that's why I use something else.
So again, it's one of those things, passwords, like a lot of things, it's not just there for your convenience, it's another chore, another thing you have to manage. It's like that Hummel figurine that you're collected, and you have to dust it periodically. Same thing with passwords. They have to be actively managed by you. How you do that, that's for you to decide. But Apple provides Keychain, which is implemented through Safari, as theirs. 1Password, Google has theirs, Microsoft has theirs, and there's a consortium between Microsoft, Google, and Apple. I haven't heard about it much, where eventually they're going to make passwords go away.
It works great. I'm using it all over the place.
Okay.
You're gonna make passwords go away.
passcode.
Yeah, there's a whole new way to authenticate when you log into
It's
stuff.
very secure, it's extremely secure.
But
I'm
it
using- I'm
doesn't
using it
seem
a
to be
lot.
gaining traction.
It's picking up. I'm seeing it on a lot of websites. I mean, I'm using it on PayPal, I'm using it on, I mean, I can make you a long list of places I'm using it.
Yeah.
It's just picking up steam. I'm seeing it on more and more every day. There's a website where you can see everywhere that uses them.
Okay.
And, so it's good. I like it. I
So
use
that
it a lot.
might be a topic for another day, that we do a full-blown presentation on. Okay, I'm going to say we're done with help desk, and I thank you for letting me glean your thoughts about password managers. You're chuckling, but I'm serious, you know. You get enough people in the
I'm
room.
thinking of all the surveys I get, and they usually dangle $100 gift card or something.
Did I dangle a $100 gift card? I dangle, we have our raffle next. Okay. Just as an aside, whenever I'm on a website and the pop-up I get, you know, we'd like your feedback, I never give the feedback because I know they won't like what I say.
Well, that's the best reason for giving it.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No. I am harsh. I am a true burned out newspaper guy, snarky, cynical. No. It's best if I don't tell people what I really think. Okay, with that said, today's topic, manage your iCloud storage. Manage your iCloud storage. Okay, iCloud, the stuff that confuses all of us, this iCloud stuff we're doing. Okay, problem description. Problem, situation, whatever. Okay, when you first set up iCloud, so you've gotten your Apple ID and you've turned that switch to turn on iCloud, you get 5 GB, that's gigabytes of free storage. Okay, 5 gigabytes free storage, 5. Okay, and that's for your iPhone and iPad backups, because we back up our Macintoshes using Time Machine. We don't use iCloud to back them up. And iCloud photos, so you know you're taking pictures with your phone or your iPad, and you got them up in iCloud. iCloud photos, and iCloud Drive. You know, you've got that switch, you didn't uncheck it, so anything on the desktop of your Mac or in the Documents folder is actually stored up on iCloud. And you're able to reach it from your phone or your iPad or from another desktop. Okay, so that's the whole purpose of iCloud, to store data and be able to share it. And then there's all the other stuff that iCloud does, but we don't really talk about, and that is you put a new contact in your contacts list, and it's now available on all your devices. So you meet somebody, you know, you're having lunch, you meet somebody, you pull out your iPhone, you put in their new contact information, their new phone number or whatever, and when you get home and you fire up your Mac at home, it's already there in the contacts list. So that's some of the other stuff that iCloud does. Okay. Now, if you run out of iCloud storage, your devices won't back up to iCloud. They just stop backing up. Now, that's your phones and your iPads. New photos and videos won't upload. Okay? And iCloud Drive and other iCloud apps won't stay up to date across your devices, so it'll actually stop syncing stuff. And you won't be able to send or receive emails with your iCloud email address. That's the email you get when you open an Apple account. It's the one that's blah, blah, blah at iCloud.com. Okay, so all that stuff will stop. When you start to run low on space, notice I didn't say if, I said when. Okay, it's real world. You will run low on space. Apple will start to send you constant email reminders that they have paid plans for additional storage. Okay.
Don't click on any of those email links. Because there's people out there trying to scam you too, trying to get information.
Okay, good information.
So I would, if you're gonna increase your storage,
Yeah,
do it directly,
from the device.
right.
Okay. Their entry-level plan, they got these tiers of storage, but their entry-level plan is 99 cents a month for 50 gigabytes of storage. So instead of 5, now you got 50, 12 bucks a year. Okay, because we all know, don't say 99 cents, it's actually $1. So it's 12 bucks a year. Okay. Now, so your choices are you can choose to rent more storage, or you can choose to manage your iCloud data. In other words, find stuff that's up in iCloud that doesn't need to be up there. Pare stuff out, clean stuff up, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that's what we're talking about today. Supplemental resources that'll be when Mr. Georges sends out the after-meeting notice. He'll send out a copy of the presentation and supplemental materials. These are very important this month. So the first one, this is the main one, manage your iCloud storage. It's from Apple support. This is a PDF that'll walk you through all of the different permutations of what you do on a Mac, what you do on an iPad, what you do on an Apple phone, what you do on a watch, whatever the device is, to change your various settings.
Clarify something. If I've got several devices, does each one have 5 or 5 total?
They are sharing 5. They are sharing 5. Okay, and just because you brought it up, I'm going to tell you the number one mistake people make. Married couple, and they're sharing one Apple ID. She has an iPad, she has a phone, you have a phone, you have an iPad, you just exceeded your 5 gigabytes just for backups. Okay, so if you're in that situation, you want your spouse to have a separate Apple ID and to use that to back up her devices. Same thing with you, separate ID, you use that to back up your devices. Apple has a way, it's called a family plan, where you can associate the 2 Apple accounts together. So that if she's bought an app, you get to use it. If you buy an app, she gets to use it. If you buy some music, she gets to play it.
Mario.
Sorry about that.
I was getting to say that.
Okay, very good point. All right, so anyway, this first document, this is the one where it's going to say tap here, tap there, touch here, do this. I'm not going to do that in this presentation for 2 reasons. One, I will misspeak at some point and lead you astray. And 2, you won't remember it once you're out the door. So this will be your reference guide. Manage your iCloud storage. It's a PDF and it's directly from Apple. The other 3 are supplementals, how to manage iCloud storage and which apps to back up. Here they're talking about your backups, what you're putting into it. Now, I didn't realize just how much control you have over this now. It used to be you just said, turn backups on, turn backups off. Now you can actually see all of the apps that are on that device, and you can say, yes, the data from this app should be backed up. No, the data from this app should not. And when you're looking at that list, it actually tells you how much data it would be storing. So you can look at the ones there's a lot of stuff there, but you know you don't really need it. Okay? So again, really good reference material for that. The next one is how to manage your iCloud storage on iPhone and iPad. I put this in just because they have really good pictures. Because sometimes saying tap on your name, tap on iCloud, tap on manage iCloud, that is enough. Sometimes if you got the picture and you go, oh, that's what they mean to tap on. So that's why that's there. And then last but not least, is your iCloud storage full? 5 tips on how to free up space. Here it's just sort of like a nice overview of the whole thing. Just, so I always like to have something with that, so you don't get overcomplicated. Sometimes we just need to pull back a little bit and just look at it and go, okay, yeah, it's not as complicated as I thought.
Bill, is that second one also from Apple support or from another source?
No, this is from a tech website. Now, remember, how does Apple make money? Do they make money selling hardware?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not much. Where do they make their money? Services, selling movies, selling music, selling storage space, okay? Think of them as your friendly, storage locker.
And 99 cents a month?
99 cents a month for the low-end tier. It goes up to
You can get 6 terabytes.
6.
I have it. I have
Okay.
6 terabytes.
Well, one of the options you have on your phone, for example, is to have your photos uploaded to the cloud.
Yep.
And when you do that, believe me, you start using up a lot of storage
Yep.
space.
Especially if you're using big phones. I use it all. I got, we get, between Teresa and I, we have almost 2.5 terabytes used pictures. It's painful.
Okay, so one of the things I'll be talking about is when you're going through this management process, bang for buck. What should you look at first? Where are you going to get your most cost savings? Space savings, excuse me. Okay. And this one, again, is from another tech website. So because Apple makes money selling you storage, they want you to buy storage. Okay. So this last one, they tell you how to do some things that I would not necessarily recommend, but give you other options, like putting your photos on a Google storage area or a Dropbox storage area, et cetera, et cetera. So it's taking them out of the Apple ecosphere and out of that secure perimeter that they have. Okay, so, yep.
Back up one chart. Sure. I was asking, when you run out of space, you lose your mail capability? When I click on mail.
For the Apple email account. So for example, I have president@tmgdayton.org. That's not backed up in iCloud. I've got a William Herrick at Outlook.com. That's not backed up to iCloud, even though it's on my machine. The William Herrick at iCloud gets backed up to iCloud. Okay, yes?
Does it get backed up if you plug it into your computer and do a backup to this computer?
Yes, those mailboxes, you're talking about time machine backups.
No, I'm talking about plugging your iPhone into the Mac and go to,
Oh,
back-
using your Macintosh as your backup
backing up to
storage.
this Mac instead of backing up to the iCloud.
I believe they apply the same settings, so
Yeah,
yes, you would get the same backup.
Because it copies all your apps and
Yeah.
everything to the
Okay,
Mac.
but we're not going to go down that path,
Okay.
nor are we going to talk about the iAmazing program for backing up your devices that does so much more and so much, anyway, we'll do that another day. Okay, so, situation, you filled up your 5 gig, and you have to decide, do I buy more space, rent more space, or do I manage my data? We're going to focus on the manage data. Okay. But I'm going to give you the executive summary before I do this. The executive summary, just as passport management takes up, it's a time sponge, just soaks up time. iCloud management, your data management, is a time sponge. It'll soak up time. Because it's got things like your photos. When's the last time you walked through and looked at every single photo that you have stored? And went, oh, should I keep that or not keep that? Oh, gee, it's a live photo. Oh, It's, what's the Pro resolution, the RAW Pro?
Oh, it's raw. It's,
I mean, you can have photos that are up to
24, 32,
150 megabytes.
it's
with
really
one of
big.
those. Yeah, one photo of 150 megabytes. Okay. So the executive summary is, and I don't believe I'm going to say this, but I am very cheap, very parsimonious. Type with a buck like bark on a tree. Okay. Well, what I'm going to tell you is, for most people, when they hit the 5 gig limit, and it's just their account, they're not sharing the account with other people, it really makes sense to go ahead and pay the 99 cents a month to get the 50 gig. Because they also give you other stuff that goes with it. Okay? But you still should manage your data. So we're going to continue and go through the rest of it. So these are the steps that I follow when I'm trying to get that data that's going up to iCloud under control. Step one is always, what do you got up there? What's taking up the space? If you go to your phone, okay, most of you have a phone, go to your phone and tap on settings. And then once you're in settings, you know how you've got the thing at the very top that's got your name and an icon? Tap on that, and then scroll down just a little bit and tap where it says iCloud. Okay. And you'll end up with a bar graph that tells you how that space is being used. Now I'm just going to look at my phone, and I've got this big blue band, that's backups, and then there's an orange band, and that's photos, yellow. Then there's green, which is messages, and then there's the gray, which is email. And I'm using 1.8 gigabytes of 5 gigabytes. Wow, I'm parsimonious. And directly underneath that is the thing that says Manage Account Storage. And then you can see exactly how the space is being used. In my case, backups are using a little bit over a gigabyte. Should be 1,000 megabytes. Yeah. So yeah, about over a gig. And photos, it's about a half gig. Messages, that's, you know, I'm texting people, that's 250 megabytes. And then there's other stuff there. Okay. So that's always the first step. What is up there? Okay, now in my case, I know backups are using a big part of it, and I know photos are using a big part of it. So that's when we get to the other steps. Now, in my personal experience, I get the most space reduction by reducing the size of iCloud backups. I'll have devices backed up in my iCloud account that I'm not using anymore. You got that backup phone that's sitting in the desk drawer, but you're not using it anymore? It's got a backup up there. So I'll take that phone out of the desk drawer, power it up, bring up settings, and I'll say, don't back this up to iCloud, because it's not really being used. So since it's got new data on it, and it's a backup plan, it's not my main phone, why have it backed up there? If I'm really feeling vulnerable, like I'm old and I have no control of my environment, I'll take that phone and instead, this is the one that came from the desk drawer, that's not being used, and I'll have it back up to my Macintosh, so my Macintosh will have its backup. As soon as I do that, the 500 gigabytes, 500 megabytes, 600 meg, whatever the size of that backup for that device I'm no longer using, disappears from iCloud storage. Oh, okay. So that's one of the first things you want to do. You want to see what backups you have up there. The easiest way to do that is if you use a web browser and you log into iCloud.com, Remember we did a presentation a couple months ago where you're logging into iCloud.com? And on that home page of iCloud.com, all the way at the bottom, they got a place where you can click, and it shows you not just what backup, size of backups, but what devices are backed up to your iCloud account. And often you'll find something that you just don't use anymore, so it shouldn't be backed up. Okay,
So how do you back up to the desktop or the laptop if you take it off of iCloud?
you have to, in the device itself, it depends on what operating system you have on your Mac. Typically, if you're running the new one, Ventura, Sonoma, etc., you physically plug your phone in, okay, with a lightning
Shows
cable.
up in Finder.
And in Finder, you click on the phone, and on that first box, it'll tell you, it'll show you where it's being backed up. You can say, back up to this Mac instead. Then it removes it from iCloud and makes a fresh one onto
You
the
can have it do both, you can have it do
Yeah.
one or the other.
One or the other, you can't do both.
You can. Mine does both. It's no.
You've got it.
There's a local backup on the computer.
Yeah.
It also backs up to iCloud's
You can-
automatically, but not at the same time. It happens earlier in the day.
Yeah, okay.
Or you can manually do it.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
older machines, you gotta use iTunes.
Yeah. Okay, but again, the number one way that people are filling it up is they got a backup for a device on iCloud that they're not using anymore.
What appears to, when you back it up to the cloud, it's not keeping a whole bunch of backups. It keeps the most recent. Because mine backed up yesterday.
Yep.
But there isn't one from last week or last month. It's just.
It's not like Time Machine.
Yeah, but when you back up to a Mac, you can have multiple backups. So again, if you're backing up your machine, your device to your computer, you want to look every so often to see how many backups you got and clean those out. Okay. This is the one that's really tough. Photos. Delete photos in iCloud Photos. Number one mistake that people make, they bring up photos on the device, so you got your phone in front of you and you bring up photos and you start deleting stuff. Okay? That may delete it on the local device, it may not always delete it on iCloud. So what I've found is a better way to do it is to use a web browser. Remember, your photos are not necessarily residing on the device, they're all connected to the stuff up in iCloud. Is to use a web browser, log into iCloud.com, click on Photos, and delete your photos from there because you're working with the central storage site. You're not at some auxiliary site, you're at the main office doing it. So whatever happens on iCloud.com is percolated down to the other devices. Yeah, so you know that you're actually moving stuff.
Isn't it true though, if you delete it on your device, on your phone, on your iPad, it will eventually delete it from the cloud after some period of time, like 30 days or 60 days or something, I don't remember.
Yeah. And if you've got a legacy device that's sitting in a desk drawer, when you fire it up, okay, it may try and put that stuff, yeah. Okay, if you do it from another device. If you do it from iCloud though, it goes, oh, no, this is the storage that's my reference.
It's the priority.
Okay. But you bring up a good point, which I was going to make. When you delete something, either on your Mac or on your phone or on your iPad or on iCloud.com, it puts it into the recently deleted folder, which means
Change
it's
your mind.
still there. Okay. Now, things in the recently deleted folder, if I remember correctly, it's after 29 days.
Almost 30 days. It's
Huh?
anytime up to 30 days.
Anytime up to 30 days. So since here we're trying to manage our data and get space like now, once I've gone through and deleted some photos, I then go to the recently deleted folder and say delete all, so that they're actually gone. Now, can you imagine which photos you want to prioritize? If you want to make up space. Now, again, we're assuming that all of these are, you know, you're taking pictures of items at Costco or Sam's Club, or, you know, if it was a butt photo, you didn't really mean to take that photo. Okay, so we're assuming these really are photos that you don't want. But the first one I go for are panoramas. I don't know what it is with me, but somehow I continuously tend to take, without meaning to, panorama photos. So they can be fairly large. So you want to get rid of your panoramas. Videos, that's the next one that goes. I look to see what kind of videos are. Now remember, when you're on iCloud.com or you're in your photo app, it'll have them broken out. You can look at them by category. Selfies, videos, live photos, panoramas. So you want to go for these that tend to be larger. Live photos are actually several photos strung together, so that's another one that you want to prioritize. And then when you're finished moving stuff into the recently deleted folder, go open up the recently deleted folder, look at the stuff there one more time, make sure that it's not something that you actually need, and then hit that delete all button.
Has anybody heard whether the stereoscopic photos that the Optivision Pro is going to sync to the cloud?
I have no idea how big those things are going to be. I'm thinking they're going to have to change it from 99 cents for 50 to 99 cents for 500.
Yeah. I can only imagine that they're huge.
Yeah. Yes?
Can you delete the live part of a live photo so that you just have the picture, the one picture?
There's a way that you can do that. I don't remember how you do it. I can look it up, but I know you can do it.
You can't do it?
There's a way to get out just the save. I think there's an option there you can save it.
Yeah, I think it's in the edit function, and
Yeah,
you
you go
can
into edit,
save
there's
as,
And you pick the frame, the best one that you want,
yeah.
out of those live pictures.
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay, so I'm going to leave those details to better minds than myself to talk about. Yes?
So the photos we're talking about here are in the Photos app. If you have photos that are in a file someplace else that are not with photos.
So like you have Lightroom, you know, the Lightroom app, or some other app for
Right.
photos. Chances are they're not in your iCloud storage, not iCloud photos. But they may be, remember when we talked about backups, and where you can pick which apps on your phone get to store data in the backup? You might want to look in your backup, is that app one of the things that's saving stuff into the backup?
Philosophically, you're using iCloud as a backup as well as for sharing.
Correct.
If you have some photos that are purely archival, you don't need to share on an immediate basis, you're putting them on a remote storage, backup storage, your own.
You have the option of turning off iCloud photos.
Well, what if you just segregate those archival files, which would mean sorting through over to your hard drive, your backup drive, to reduce the size that's under photo going up to iCloud? Is that
Yeah, but you've got to remove them from the photo app.
right?
You know, it's got to be moved over to this other app and then delete it. And typically, when you're doing that, when you've got Lightroom or you've got, I'm trying to remember some of the other photo apps that are out there, when you're importing from photos, it's not deleting it from photos. It's making copies.
Or aliases?
And sometimes aliases. If it's aliases, you got to be really careful because it's still in photos. So if you delete it from photos, you don't have the.
And you delete the photos by going to image, to remove that photos? How do you remove it from photos?
The best way to do it, if we're talking about iCloud photos, in other words, the photos on this device are being synced to iCloud, is to do it from iCloud.com. Because you're removing it from all the devices and from iCloud.
But going back to my posture, that you, at the laptop, you want to put some on a permanent archival hard drive and you're working with photos. How do you get them out of photos onto the laptop?
There's a couple different ways to do it. One, you can use the export command, or what I usually do is I just have them in albums, and then I drag the album, I'll just click on the album, so just the stuff for that album showed, do a select all, and then I just drag them right to a folder on the hard drive, the external hard drive.
That takes it out of photos? It's not just...
That makes a copy.
How do you get rid of the original, remove the original out?
You actually have to delete them. In iPhoto, you say delete, or iCloud, iPhoto, you say, you click the trash can, it moves it to the recently deleted folder, and then at the end,
Yes.
okay, and you have to be crystal clear on where that photo actually is. Is it in iCloud Photos, or is it on a machine that isn't syncing to iCloud? In which case, you're not helping your iCloud storage situation. Okay. Moving right along. The next one is going to be, depending on how you use your machine, is iCloud Drive. Okay. There's, in the modern Mac OSs, there's a switch you can flip. And the default is anything on your, remember, we're on a Macintosh, so it's a MacBook or an iMac at this point, a Mac Mini. We're in Mac OS. Anything in your Documents folder or desktop, the stuff that you see when you're looking at the screen, is automatically saved in iCloud Drive, unless you tell it, no, don't do that. Okay. I can't tell you how many times I've made the mistake of saving something to my desktop instead of my downloads folder. I save it to my desktop, and the next thing I know, I'm getting emails from Apple about your iCloud storage is full. Because the thing I brought is, let's say it's a movie or video, and it's, 2 gigabytes in size. And I just went over my 5 gig limit. Because I put it on my desktop, which means it's putting it into iCloud Drive, as opposed to downloading it to my downloads folder, which just is on the local machine. Okay. Again, what I find works best is to, rather than try and figure this out from this laptop and that iMac, because remember, the whole idea behind iCloud Drive is, if I've got my MacBook open, I can access that file, and if I've got my iMac open, I can access that file. So instead of doing the, oh, wait a minute, I deleted it. No, I didn't delete it. It's back. Why is it back? Is to log into iCloud.com, click on iCloud Drive, and you'll see the folder structure and the files that are in the folders. And sometimes I find I have all these folders that are up there that don't have anything in them. And I go, oh, okay, I wonder how I did that. So again, keeping the principle, the simpler you keep it, the better it's going to be when you need to find something. And the better it's going to be when you need to use something. You want to get rid of those extra folders. Make sure that they truly are empty. And you're going to be doing the same thing that you did with photos. When you delete it from iCloud Drive, it goes into a recently deleted folder. And so the end of the process always is go to recently deleted and delete it from the recently deleted folder.
Are you including the desktop? Like you mentioned earlier, you had the desktop being saved to the cloud instead of on the local machine. So you're including that with folders or files. I had that problem, and I stopped that. I put the desktop back onto my local machine, so it's not
Okay.
being saved in the cloud.
Going to best practices rather than the presentation topic. I don't put my desktop and documents folder into iCloud. I have that switched off. But even if you have that switched off, there are other apps that will still want to put their files in iCloud Drive. And that's TextEdit, Preview, Numbers, Keynote, and what's the other one? The equivalent of Word, Pages.
Yeah, well, I don't know how mine got turned on, because I don't remember ever doing it consciously.
Ooh, it was the default setting
It's probably
when you
one of
did
the
an upgrade.
upgrades, yeah. And it was, I was getting confused because
Yeah.
I use my desktop kind of as a temporary holding spot sometimes before I put it in a permanent location, and all of a
Yep.
sudden, you know, there's this delay, and I'm noticing the little cloud symbol pop up there next to the desktop words on the
So the way I do is I manually manage my iCloud Drive. When, in your sidebar, there's a folder that shows up there, it says iCloud Drive. It's not on your computer, it's an iCloud. So if there's something I want to share with another device, I drag it in there and I have a folder that says williamherrick@icloud.com.
Like I'm keeping notes here on my
Yep.
iPad, and it's being stored in a Pages folder that's in the cloud.
Yep.
When I go home, I can open up my desktop, and it's there. Same thing,
Yep.
and vice versa.
Yep.
So there's some value in being able to do that.
There is some value, but I want to go back to what you said. It got turned on and you don't know how.
Yeah.
Whenever something gets turned on and I don't know how, I don't like that. I get upset.
I don't do that.
Okay, so this is one of the things that you might want to look and see, do you have that turned on where your documents and your desktop folder are being put up on iCloud? Especially if you're a lawyer or a healthcare professional. Because you run into, you have, legal constraints on where you're allowed to store your data. Okay.
You're saying, when I get an update to my software bill, like, it'll reset every setting I have to?
It will
default?
typically only happen when you're going from, like, if you're talking about a phone, you're going from iOS 17 to iOS 18.
And it'll put defaults?
They have done that in the past, so that's one of the things I look at. So when I went from Ventura to Sonoma, the first thing I did was to make sure they did not have those document and desktop folders being shared. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up as quick as I can. Okay, the last three, delete text and attaches and messages. This is the one that always bites me because people put, they'll put a photo in a text message to me, and I forget that it is a photo, and it's using up, a couple megs of space. So that's another one to make sure that you know what's going on with that. You can just turn off messaging on a machine and say, no, don't save any messages from this machine on iCloud, and that'll free up space. But typically, the way you want to do it is to actually, in your device, go in and delete the message streams that have got the data. Typically, what you can do is, let's say it's a simple message stream, you to one other person. So when you open that message stream, you can click on the information on it, and then click on that person, and it'll show you their contact. And all the way at the bottom, it'll show you all the pictures that are in that message stream from that person, and you can select which ones you want to delete. Or conversely go, oh, wait a minute, I want that actually to be in photos, and get it out of the message. Okay. And then delete email and attachments in mail. Again, remember, it's only if it's your Apple email account. Is it going to reduce the storage in iCloud? And then last but not least, delete voice memos. I don't use voice memos, so I have no data in my iCloud backup with voice memos. I know other people, that's how they do stuff. And they'll quite easily have 400, 500 megabytes of voice memos up there. So again, there's no simple way to go through them. It's like going through photos. You got to go through them one at a time. Okay, do I need to keep this voice memo? Do I not? And then you have to delete it on the local device, and then that will take it off from the other. All right, I've run over past 12 o'clock. So in the presentation, you'll have a copy of it. I just go over some of the other things to watch out for. And they've already been covered in the presentation, but just an additional reminder. So then last but not least, of the 4 supplemental materials, the one that you want to browse through the most is the one from Apple Support. The Manage Your iCloud Storage from Apple Support. Plus they also have all of the different price plans for storage, so that you can see what, what they want to sell you. Okay. Yes, Rick?
This is leading up to a series of presentations we're gonna have on managing your pictures. Because we needed to have this discussion to talk about managing iCloud before we talk about managing your photos in iCloud. So that'll be the next couple, 3 presentations. And we're not done with this yet. There'll be more.
Okay. One last thing. Next month, we currently have scheduled USB cables. You're all going to learn how to identify USB-C cables, Thunderbolt cables, printer cables, USB mini, USB micro, USB-A, B, D, etc. You'll all become experts on it.
HB cable in there, RS-232.
Bring your soldering iron.
I'm tempted to bring like a bundle of cables for each person where they can see how they're labeled.
Yeah, there was a,
Okay, I'm not sure.
short-lived stereo one. Yeah, and there was a short-lived stereo one.
Who had the last question about iPhone?
Live.
ADB, there's Firewire.
Okay, we're officially adjourned.